Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the second installment of the Ask the Expert webinar series. Today, we are joined by Adobe and 18th Digitech, and together we will better understand the unmissable changes in customer behavior and how to capitalize them to develop an excellent customer journey from the first click to the last mile. I'm Ali Thiem, the editor of Power Retail, and it's lovely to have everyone here today. We have a great lineup of panelists for you in store today, but before I introduce everybody, as always, I have a quick bit of housekeeping to get through. If you do have any questions for our panelists, be sure to pop them in the questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll do our best to answer them at the end of the session. Today, we are joined by Eroka O'Conner, the Senior Solutions Consultant at Adobe, Tanuj Rastogi, the founder of 18th Digitech, and Abhishek Mathur, the Head of Global Sales and Operations at 18th Digitech. It's lovely to have you guys here today. So I'm just going to go through a quick... It's lovely to have you here. So I'm just going to introduce everybody just a little bit. So let's all get to know each other a bit better. So Eroka O'Conner is the Senior Solutions Consultant at Adobe. With more than 18 years of experience in IT, project management, and business analysis, she has spent the last few years specializing in e-commerce, marketing, and CRM. So she's obviously got a lot of knowledge under her belt. So she's going to have some great insights for everybody today. We also have Tanuj Rastogi, the founder of 18th Digitech. It's an Australian-based development agency that has been he has been working in e-commerce, technology, and the digital space since 2001. Primarily focusing on helping businesses thrive in the digital world, Tanuj helps businesses achieve their goals by delivering profitable e-commerce projects with innovative and modern features. And then we have Abhishek Mathur, who leads the global sales and marketing at 18th Digitech. A versatile and enthusiastic tech professional, he has extensive experience of over 14 years in the e-commerce and digital marketing space. And in the past 8 years, he has helped establish 18th Digitech and an award-winning Magento commerce agency, catering to clients worldwide. He has successfully delivered enterprise e-commerce projects across the globe with a main focus in North America and Southeast Asia. So today we're going to be talking about the e-commerce developments, which in 2020 absolutely smashed expectations. And from customer behavior to pivotal developments in supply chain management, there are myriad changes that have and will continue to impact and shape the retail industry as we know it. With the undoubted power of e-commerce comes the immeasurable need to understand these current changes. What drives a customer to shop with a particular retailer? In 2021, what makes a truly exceptional customer journey? In today's webinar, our guest speakers will discuss the learnings from the past 12 months and will address the issues and the areas of buy now, pay later, returns, and delivery. So without further ado, let's jump in. Tanuj, let's start with you.
And so BNPL, no doubt, is probably the biggest winner of 2020 during the pandemic. We have noticed that recently, as much as 25% of B2C online transactions have gone through BNPL, and Afterpay and Zip has been leaders on them. And the growth, the growth online for BNPL has been tremendous. You will notice that it has grown a lot in the customer segment of age group between 25 and 34 years old. But it has also been growing between, in the other segments, between 35 to 44. And I was surprised to see when we got this data that, that there is a growth in the 55 to 64 age group as well. And what we have also noticed that a lot of customers are actually looking to, actively looking for websites, e-commerce stores that offer BNPL solution, right? In terms of our customers, we have also noticed that those who didn't have BNPL options, as soon as they bring Afterpay and ZipPay into the mix of their payment options, they see an uptick in the growth of their sales and conversions, right? We have also, in many cases, seen the increase in the average order value because of BNPL options. I think the opportunity to pay in 4 different installments allows customers to buy things that they really want, but might not be possible within their budget, right? The other reason BNPL is growing is that more and more people are moving away from paying through credit card as shoppers are worried about credit card interest. They use these plans to avoid paying credit card interest or buying something not within their budget. And this is reflected in majority of customers preferring websites that offer BNPL options to just ones that have credit card or PayPal. As the graph suggests, 54% users have said that they are looking to make a purchase online through looking for a BNPL option at the retailer. Right. And I believe that credit card companies and PayPal have actually observed this as well. And that is the reason, it was in the news recently that PayPal is looking to offer BNPL solution to its 9 million users in Australia, which is going to be a game changer. And yesterday, Commonwealth Bank announced that it is going to allow 4 million of its credit card users to purchase through to have a BNPL offer. So which is going to be very interesting, and might change the landscape where Afterpay and Zip are the leaders. So it will be interesting to see how things pan out.
I think it's definitely going to change that demographic, especially when you look at that bottom chart where you've got the buy now, pay later users by age. Like I was looking at some data and some numbers over the last few days. Gartner said in 2019, as you were saying, Tanuj, younger consumer groups were the ones that led the buy now, pay later adoption. And then in 2020, even Forrester was reporting that consumer anxiety, financial pressures, they were all reasons for other demographics to start entering into the alternative payment method space. I also I pulled some statistics from the Adobe Digital Economy Index for 2021. We release it quarterly, and it's based, it is US based, unfortunately. We are looking at something for Australia, but it's based upon over 3 trillion transactions in the US, and it shows us consumer trends that are happening. They showed us that, we reported that in the first 2 months of this year already, US has seen a 215% year-on-year growth in buy now, pay later usage. So they've got a more mature ecosystem where they've got those larger financial institutions, and they've got PayPal's buy now, pay later in there. Once we have those in our market, I think we're going to start seeing the same things. That age demographic is definitely going to spread.
And I also believe that with PayPal and Commonwealth Bank coming into the action, right? The merchant fees is going to go down. So a lot of merchants are going to put in, these two options as the payment options ahead of Afterpay and PayPal, right? Like our experience shows that Afterpay, a lot of times, they would ask the merchants to put them as the first option on the checkout page, right? Which is going to change once PayPal and Afterpay, because in some cases merchants are paying up to 6%. In their in the merchant fees, which is a lot, especially when you are looking at the competitive economy we are in now, right? It's a cutthroat competition, right? So 6% could be a major chunk. And Commonwealth Bank yesterday clarified that merchants will actually only pay whatever their credit card processing fees is, which is big, in my opinion.
It is, and it'll also show a change of what people are buying with buy now, pay later. So, it's been that younger demographic, it's been products that are relevant to them, but now it's, people will be buying like the US dentistry, healthcare, prosthetics with buy now, pay later. So much larger transactions will be taken up. So it's going to be a big industry spread as well.
So if you go to the next slide there, it actually talks about where the BNPL growth is. And if I look at it, because when BNPL started, as Eroka mentioned, they have been targeting the younger audience, and that's where that's why you see such predominance in dominance in the fashion and the beauty industry. But because now that with Afterpay you can buy up to $2,000 worth of stuff, so you are seeing that growth in other sections as well, like electrical and electronics as well, right? So which is interesting, right? Which is there's a lot there's a lot happening in this space.
Yeah, those larger financial institutes are really going to spread the verticals that we see buy now, pay later being offered into areas that we really experienced before.
Correct. And traditionally, these BNPL was being used by the younger audience in those impulse categories, right? Yep. Things that they wanted to buy now, which might not be in their current budget, but they can pay in installments, and we saw massive growth in that area.
Yep. And there's also having them in the market. We're increasing the number of buy now, pay later products that we've got available for a merchant. So they can, you know, it used to be originally it was Afterpay or No Way, that was it. And then you had Zip coming in, and then, you know, you had a couple of others coming in. Now we're entering the swap where merchants are able to go out and they're going to be able to find a buy now, pay later provider or providers that have a marketing and a branding that meets their requirements, that have a demographic already existing in their database that matches their product's demographic. And also negotiating the merchant service fees is going to be a really big change.
I think, sorry, Abhishek, you wanted to say something?
I just want to add one more thing there. I was reading a report, and according to that report, in e-commerce, credit card payments, right, that was traditionally used, like everyone uses credit card. But in 2019, there was a month, 1 month, August and September in 2019, the number of active credit card users in Australia fell by 4.1%, right? And according to Reserve Bank of Australia, one in every 2 BNPL user have actually stopped using credit card altogether in 2019. Right.
No, that's actually interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
From my experience, I saw when buy now, pay later came into the market, it instantly cannibalized. It instantly took over from. It instantly took out from PayPal. It instantly brought that PayPal number down. So PayPal would usually be around a third of all transactions. So buy now, pay later just took a lot of that out. With PayPal coming back into buy now, pay later in Australia, it's going to. They'll be clawing that back, and they'll be taking that back, especially with some, I think, large merchants.
No, and it's interesting because, you know, Klarna is another player in the buy now, pay later market, not very big in Australia yet, but Commonwealth Bank has invested money in Klarna, right? And now Commonwealth Bank is going to compete with them, right? But that's like, you know, so obviously I'm pretty sure that they have felt the pinch of, like, you know, losing business, and they were not left with any choice. But the other thing that, like, you know, Afterpay, which I believe has done very well, is that they have got this merchant marketplace, and they get millions of hits in their marketplace and generate leads and sales for their merchants, right? So Commonwealth Bank is going to find it very difficult to compete with that.
See, I don't think they will. I would expect Commonwealth Bank and PayPal, when they come into this market, they're going to be approaching merchants and offering to co-market. They're going to be approaching merchants and saying, let us co-market with you your products to our customer base. And that's going to be
you're right.
That's going to be a really big differentiator, because they've got a larger database, and they've also got a database that previously the sort of more established buy now, pay later platforms in Australia haven't been able to hit into those demographics yet, and that's where PayPal and Commonwealth Bank are going to make a difference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that you make a good point, because they do have 4 million credit card customers, Commonwealth Bank, so which gives them a very good audience to market to.
And they've got people like demographics that buy now, pay later aren't hitting, and it's all about, you know, how do I get my message to the people that aren't seeing it currently, who I want to be buying my products.
That's true. That's true. No, that makes sense. I think we can move ahead to the next slide, if you like, Ellie. Eroka, would you like to take this on?
Where are we? Fashion and returns. One of my favorite. Sorry, I've got my slides out of whack. Let me just move. Free delivery and fast delivery. So it's really interesting with delivery at the moment. Like, I think we've set customers this expectation that goods are going to be delivered free. And customers have had this expectation for quite a while. So what we need to do is we need to start looking at, well, how do we change that expectation? You know, how do we make people pay for a premium service? Like things I've seen in conversations with customers the last year, it hasn't been so much around free delivery. It's been, how do I have multiple types of shipping? How do I have multiple layers or levels of shipping to offer to my customers? You know, one of the big things I saw over the last year with COVID especially was originally pre-COVID, I'd be talking to alcohol companies or food companies, and they'd be like, yeah, well, one of our delivery methods has to be Uber, super fast. And then all of a sudden during COVID, I've got retailers, bricks and mortar retailers of homewares and electrical wanting to do Uber of delivery. That's because, they're wanting to keep their retail, their bricks and mortar shops open. They still want to be trading through them, and they want to be using every single delivery type available. And you can't have free shipping on everything. So I think, these statistics and these numbers are really going to change, because different organizations, different people are going to be wanting different things, and there's no one true size fits all for delivery. We're going to be seeing a lot of retailers offering different delivery methods, and we need platforms and we need processes, because we need supply chain that's flexible enough to be able to manage that. We need, I'm also talking to a lot of retailers and merchants, and I'm seeing them talk about, what do I do in my supply chain? I can't get one view of my inventory. I don't know where all of my inventory is in real time. How do I manage that? And they're starting to put thought and process and money into that, so they can then surface that onto their front ends and be able to have like commerce engines that can offer those multiple ways of delivering goods and shipping goods from wherever the closest point is. To get them to the customers. So there is a big shift we're seeing there in the conversations we're having with customers at the moment.
But look, the thing is, free delivery, obviously a lot of customers look at free delivery, are looking for free delivery. And if you go to the next slide, you will notice that people are actually actively looking for, sorry, I must have, but they are actually actively looking for a free delivery, merchants that are offering free delivery. And the reason is very straightforward. If you buy, let's say if you buy a shirt for $30 online and you have to pay $10 or $15 for delivery, you're paying, your costs have gone up by 33%, right? So that's what they're looking for. And then in a lot of these options, industries in fashion and beauty, people businesses like Amazon and eBay are actually setting people's expectations regarding delivery, right? Amazon, is offering free delivery to its Prime members, and a lot of times they are offering same day or next business day delivery, right? And I read a report recently that on Amazon, the items that have free delivery and next or same or next business day delivery, they sell a lot more than other items or merchants who are not offering the same thing. So and it is setting resetting people's expectation. And a lot of retailers now, we have seen, if the iconic retailers like the Iconic, they have got same day delivery or next business day delivery in most metropolitan areas within Australia, and and they have been very successful with it, right? And
yeah, fast is really multiple delivery options, fastest delivery. They're things people are really calling out for. It's not just free delivery, and even with free delivery, you don't want to open it up and offer to everyone. You want to reward your customers and reward your top tier customers. Free delivery can be something that they aspire to. So, you enter a rewards program, you get to a top tier, or you get into the tiered program, then you start to receive delivery discounts or free delivery based on that. So merchants can start to reduce their overheads and reduce their costs for delivering that, and also engage customers and delight them, treat it as a reward. But you can't do it overnight. We know a retailer who they had free delivery for years and years and years and years and years, and then all of a sudden they changed their delivery, so it was only to their loyalty top tiers. Huge backlash. They didn't do any A/B testing. They didn't do any communication. You can't change this overnight. You need to test what that's going to mean to your customers. You need to communicate what that's going to mean to your customers, and treat it as a way of surprising and delighting those who are loyal to your brand.
Look, free delivery will work very well for merchants who have got higher margins and smaller products, like for jewelry businesses. But what we have seen is, with some of our retailers, that they have actually used free shipping very well to increase the average order value of the from average of the system, because what they are able to say is that, okay, spend $75 with us, that's the minimum value, and you get free shipping. And what we do for them then is if a customer has $55 in their cart, we will they will see at different steps of checkout, they will see a message, another $20 and you get free shipping. And in most cases, people do go for free shipping because they can probably buy something additional and only pay $10 extra and get free shipping, right? So that works very well.
Yeah, definitely. Use your dynamic content, use your customer segmentation, use those to drive that personalized message to someone in their shopping cart journey to increase that cart at checkout and convert it to a higher value and get their free shipping.
Correct. So yeah, no, that makes sense. So I think for delivery, like, it gets you onto returns, which is our next topic. Again, like, the usual suspect here is fashion, right? And I know this is your specialty, Eroka, so I'll let you.
I did actually put some notes together on this one.
Yeah.
I've had a fair bit of experience in returns with fashion retailers. Look, fashion, if you look at that statistic, it's 60% of fashion items being returned. That's untenable. That is not financially tenable, because it's not just the margin you're losing. It's like you have to get those goods shipped back to you. You have to get them into your warehouse. You have to check them for faulty. You have to get them either back into stock, or you have to get rid of the goods through another one of your sales channels, or you have to destroy the goods or get rid of them in some way. And all of that has got labor costs, it's got overhead costs. It's not cheap. And I kind of think in fashion, you should be sitting 24% or less on your returns. And that's where you can actually start to, not lose money on your returns. I personally am an advocate for data-driven decisions. As a retailer, look at what information you've got. Analyze your social media. Why are people returning things? Analyze your customer service feedback. Analyze your return reason codes. I was, in preparation for this, I was looking at some of the self-service returns portals on different fashion retailer sites, and I saw over and over again the same thing. One of the self-service return reason codes was, I don't like it. It didn't look like it did online. It doesn't fit me. Same reason. These are two very, very different reasons. And what you need to do is you need to use the data from those to drill down and see what the problem is. I mean, one, I don't like it. It doesn't look like it did online. It points to, your on-screen merchandising. Are your images right? Are your color swatches right? I know a global fashion retailer, I love them. And when they put their dresses online, they're very artistic and they sell the mood of the dress, but it's usually someone crouched over, holding their knees and things like that. You don't see the drape of the dress. You don't see how it is anywhere on the site. So you buy it, you put it on, you're like, yeah, that's not sitting at the length I wanted it. You return it. Is your visual merchandising working for you? That one, obviously not. So that's driving their returns up. Are your color swatches working? The other one, which is, around sizing, that's completely different. That's like inconsistent sizing. Could be do your manufacturing processing, your sampling processes. Are your spec packs right? Are they giving the right instructions to your suppliers? If you're using multiple suppliers, are you sampling it correctly before it's actually getting to you and then hitting your customers? I'm talking too fast. I'm sorry. I always do.
No.
Are your size charts effective? Are you using size charts? Do you have the right size charts for the right product on the screen? Size charts are really, really important when someone starts to look at buying things, especially in fashion. Super important if you start talking about shoes and things like that, or even jewelry. Size charts, you really do need them in jewelry. You need to use your BAs. Fashion retailers need to use their analysts, they need to use their BAs. They need to be sure that they are planning to ask the right question up front, so that they can get the right answers and analyze where in their process they've got an issue, so that they can bring that returns number down to preferably under 25.
Look, and it could be like, sometimes it could be as simple as putting in like, just a model's image wearing their dress, a good quality image, telling customers that, this model is this particular size and this is the size dress she is wearing. Putting in a 360-degree video, if possible, of the dress. Something like linking the proper size guide to the relevant section. Right? So like there's no point linking with a product like to a size guide and where you have information about 20 different items. Right? You got to say if this is a top, link people to the size guide about the top rather than anything else. Right? Even
Yeah,
like the other thing I notice is allow your customers to provide feedback or review on various things, including the fitting. Because customers do read reviews before they buy anything, right? And if they see that sort of feedback, that does help the end user make a decision and make the right decision, hopefully. Abhishek, I know you have done a bit of work on on sizing on clothing and all that, and writing some extensions and all that. Can you throw some light on it?
Yeah, so it's again fashion. We have seen one of our customers, they said that they were getting around 33% returns, right? So we developed kind of plugin or an extension, which is there are two actually, and they work together. So one is virtual try-on, right? And the other one is sizing engine. So you go onto the on the website, you put your sizes, right? And based on those size input, our system tells them that this is the product. These are the products which will fit you, and to what extent. And if they're not fitting you, where it is not fitting, and what you should change, or you should look for another product and all. Once you have done that sizing, then you can drag that onto a particular model, which is a mannequin, and you put that drag and drop that image of the product on that model and see whether this top goes with this particular jeans. And so that has reduced the returns to a lot of extent, right? Still, in fashion industry, it is pretty difficult to manage returns for e-commerce merchants, I guess.
Look, we have a swimwear customer here in Sydney that does they sell worldwide, and they have 10% return rate, which is pretty high for them, and they are they are actively looking to do something about it, right? Because it does cost them, when somebody wants to return it, they offer free returns, and then they have to send a new item across, right? But what people are looking for is not just with returns, is either a quick solution, or they are looking for an exchange as well. So people have to start looking at those processes as well.
Yep. How do I manage them in my organization? What do I do? And also, at what point is it not tenable? At what point is it not financially tenable for me to take that item, unpack it from the bag, and put it back in stock? At what point do I just go, it's not worth it? Either the margin on that item is too small, or the item itself is too small. And that's really important in fashion, where you're looking at, low value items. Is it worth taking a $4 pair of kids' leggings and putting them back into stock in my warehouse? Probably not.
Yeah, that's right.
So how can I look at that package when it comes back and go, yeah, I don't need that? And how can we put these back into the community? And maybe we put them through channels of areas where Salvation Army or something, where there are people that need that, and they do have the resources to look after those goods. We're putting back into the community instead of just throwing it away or putting it into landfill. Think about the holistic view of our retail environment and our retail experience.
No, that's true. You raised some very good points here, Eroka. I think, Ellie, we can go to the next slide if you like. And how are we going for time?
I think we're doing pretty well. We've still got around 15 minutes, so we can have a few questions this time around, because I'm really interested in all of this, the insights and data. So keep going. I love it.
So again, coming back to Eroka, considering that you have done so much work around returns, so obviously we can see here that there are returns is very prominent, right? So we have discussed how customers can merchants can reduce their returns, but can you throw some light on how important it is for merchants to have a good returns policy and processes in place?
It's knowing, especially when you're buying an item unseen. So say you look at footwear. If I'm buying footwear, having a returns policy for footwear is really, really important. I know of a merchant who launched a new footwear range. They were predominantly drop shipping clothing, and they launched a footwear range. They launched their footwear range. They didn't change their returns policy for that new product type. So their returns policy was 14 days, can't have been worn for a refund. Now, they didn't change that for footwear. People came along, they bought footwear. Who gets back to the post office in 14 days? Very, very few people, especially if you're looking at females of a demographic of 30 to 40. So the goods didn't come back. They disengaged a whole group of customers who, with the new promotion, the footwear didn't sell well after that first promotion, and it also impacted their other brands and their other ranges that they had because of the fact that they didn't go, I need to have a returns process and policy that's relevant for the product that I'm offering. Footwear is a great example because of the fact that women will buy, I'm sorry, I'm generalizing here, but based on my experience, and I worked in footwear for a few years, women will buy a few different sizes of a shoe that they love and then return the two that they don't need. What you want to get to is ideal scenario is the two that they don't need, they don't return them. They give one to their sister and one to their mum, which is ideal.
But that is just like, you brought a very interesting point, because ASOS, I think in UK, they are actually looking at customers who are returning a lot of items, and they have a department that actually goes in and disables the accounts of customers who are who are buying a lot of items and returning most of them, because obviously it's costing them money, and they have to they probably have done their calculations and worked out that losing how much money they are losing because of those customers, and they probably it's in their benefit to not have those customers rather than getting those much returns, because it does cost a lot of money to manage, as you said earlier, you have to pay for returns first, then you have to warehouse it, you have to check the items, and a lot of times the items might not come back as new conditions, and might not be resellable, or they might come out and the fashion has gone out. Anything can happen, right?
Yeah, you're actually spending money to get rid of them through another channel, unfortunately.
That's right.
I mean, it's interesting here where I think there's a mix. You have to make it easy for customers to return an item. So I'm such an advocate for self-service return, but do it smartly. Make sure that when you're offering self-service return, you're getting that self-service return in such a way that you're able to collect and collate the information and use that information to further impact your business and reduce the returns in the future. Because when customers are just sending returns back, or even when customers get the item and it doesn't fit right, or it's not as it looked like it did on the website, you want them to be contacting you. You want to know what the issue is, because yet again, you can that will impact your bottom line. You can change your product. It's that number where people just don't return it. They just buy it, didn't fit. Your returns process is too hard or too cumbersome, so they don't contact you, they don't return it, and then they tell everyone that not to buy from you because it's an awful experience. I actually have a favorite online retailer, pure play online retailer of mine. I did buy some shoes from them. I found the returns process was just too hard, and I will never buy from them again, which is kind of sad.
The swimwear merchant that I spoke about just a few minutes back, they have actually used return very well to generate customer loyalty. They're offering free returns, including shipping, and promptly dispatch an alternate, or offer a customer with a gift card, right? They have identified that return is an integral part of their business, right? And there is no way they can they can go to zero return. So we are now working with them to develop a custom self-serve return module for them to automate that process, because they're getting around 30-40 returns a day, which is which requires considerable amount of space. So with the self-serve, people are able to manage their return themselves, and they only have to, as a merchant, they only have to worry about it once the item is within their warehouse.
And like you say, returns are important. They tell you about issues you've got in your manufacturing process, in your supply chain process, even in your branding. Returns are really important. So you want them, and you want to know that information from your customers, but just don't open it up willy-nilly and say, yeah, send everything back. It's be strategic. Use your data, use your analysts, do your financial modeling. Make sure that you've actually got a returns program and process in place, not just, send everything back, because that's when you start to see those really large numbers of returns and you don't know what's in there. You can't use that data.
But in fashion, right, a lot of times the returns is, as you said earlier, is because of the size and the fit, right? And the merchant I mentioned in swimwear, I think it's probably more common, and that's why they have but they have noticed 10% return, which is by industry standard not that bad, but still it is giving them a large number of returns because based on the number of transactions they do. So for them, to do 1200 1500 returns in a month requires a couple of resources. So they are trying to automate as much as a process so that those resources can focus elsewhere on the business.
I've seen I know a large Indian retailer who outsourced returns management completely. So there is a separate factory and there's an outsourced company that just deals with managing returns for organizations. And then, they're channeling the goods back into other channels instead of sending them back. And then, the retailer only gets back goods that can be re-warehoused and resold.
There is a lot of work has to be done in this space yet, right? And it is a constantly evolving space when it comes to delivery and returns.
It is. I think it comes back to that old adage, a complaint is a gift, a return is a gift. They're telling you something about your product. Use the information and use the data.
That's true.
I don't know. Next, should we move on from returns or?
Yeah, we can go on. We can go for hours on this, right? Like on returns.
Unfortunately, we only have around 15 minutes left. So if we wanted to, keep moving, and then we can still have some time to throw in some questions as well.
Sure.
It's interesting. I see here that, we have conditioned customers in Australia to expect a refund. Something goes wrong, I want a refund, I want a discount. We have conditioned that into our customers. How do we, as merchants and retailers, change that conditioning? How do we change that narrative so it doesn't affect our bottom line when an order's not delivered on time? How we can use it to drive the next sale? How we can use it to drive a better engagement with the customer or a better conversation? How do we turn that negative experience into a positive for our customers? And that's, I think, a really big challenge. And that we see here is that instant customer reaction of, it's late, I want a discount, I want it refunded. And that refunding and that. Pardon?
Yeah, because businesses have conditioned them that way, right? And it's an easy way out to resolve a problem. And even I don't believe that when a problem happens, the first thing that customer is looking for is a refund or a discount, right? They want someone to acknowledge that an issue has happened. They want someone to lend them an ear and help them resolve the problem, right? But a lot of times businesses take it as an easy way out and say, look, we'll give you a discount, next time or whatever, which is going to affect their bottom line in the short and long term both.
Definitely is. Tell your customer before they tell you. If you know it's going to be late, integrate your shipping well. Make sure your supply chain is well managed so that before the customer knows that delivery is not going to meet them in the expected time frame. And then you tell the customer, and then surprise and delight them with something else. Surprise and delight them with a different type of offer or a welcome back or even a nice little notepad or something. But if you are on the front foot with managing that delayed delivery and you're the one communicating, you're the one controlling the narrative, and you're the one that's setting that expectation, and you can help to reduce your costs by doing that, because you're not having people turn up, contacting customer service people, putting it all over social media how bad the experience has been, which is going to affect you in the long run, and it's going to cost you money to deal with. Be on the front foot, be proactive, and you tell the customer. So get your supply chain working well, get those lines of communication open, have a plan, because deliveries are always going to be late. I don't know. During COVID, I was having deliveries late. I think my worst was 3 weeks for something that I was expecting within 2 to 3 days. That's not good. But I was contacting the company and asking them where it was. It wasn't the other way around, and it should be.
Yeah, and the other point is when somebody contacts you. So look, I think the biggest step you can take is be proactive, as you said. But the second point is that, okay, if you haven't done that and someone has contacted you, be responsive, act quickly, right? Recognize that there is a problem and tell customers that what you are going to do to solve that problem, right? Rather than just say that, look, it has happened, we are offering a discount. And most people are rational, right? If you tell them that, and it happened during COVID, a lot of people realized that Australia Post or couriers, they were so busy that they were just overwhelmed with the number of deliveries they have to have. It's not that businesses did it on purpose, right? But once people realized that, I think the customer satisfaction ratio went up. Right?
It really did, and during COVID, really good retailers, especially Magento ones who could use Page Builder to very quickly put content onto their website. Got to put a plug in. But what they were doing was they were using Page Builder to put content on pages to say what was happening with their deliveries. If they had delays that they knew of in New South Wales customers were being surfaced with a message that was relevant to them and to what their expectations should be. So they were setting those expectations at the front of the transaction. And also anytime the customer came back to the site, because the first place they go is to the site to see where's my delivery, there's a message telling them. So it stops the customer from feeling that they needed to contact people to say what's happening.
And there are so many shipping aggregators in the market like Starshipit and all that they would actually allow you to communicate with the customer, and it's all automated, right? So it's the system will send them an email where the items are. They could get an SMS if they like, right? Which I believe, I've read somewhere that a lot of people now prefer to get an SMS about their deliveries than emails and all that. So all those systems are there, and they're not very expensive to use these days. So merchants should use those to keep customers informed. And even if it's automated, the customers realize that, still feel that you have been proactive. You have
definitely.
kept them informed.
Definitely. I don't know, Ali, what have we got after delivery?
I think
that perfect timing, really. We can spend the last 5 to 10 minutes discussing some little questions that have come through, and I wanted to thank all of you as well for taking the time to actually discuss all of these talking points. I think that this is actually one of the most interesting webinars that we've hosted, because I really loved everyone's opinions and hearing some really actionable insights into buy now, pay later, delivery and returns. So I think that our listeners would have taken a lot away from this. So to start with some questions, obviously there are some upsides and downsides for retailers that offer multiple buy now, pay later options. What are some of the lesser known benefits and the detriments of offering more than one BNPL service on your platform? So I'm going to throw over to whoever would like to answer that one first.
Look, I'll take that. So one advantage that many retailers have overlooked is that the increase in average order value, right? As I said in the beginning as well, when it becomes easier for customers to pay for a product, they do tend to spend more, right? The other option is the better conversion rate and better, among customers, right? Because you are actually giving them a lot of options to purchase. So if I have a Zip account and I go to a merchant that takes both Afterpay and Zip, it's easier for me to just go and set up a Zip, to pay through Zip. Otherwise, I might, if I don't have an Afterpay account and the merchant is only taking Afterpay, that means that I have to go through the process of setting up the account, right? The challenges that I think the detriments of offering BNPL, in my opinion, the biggest one is the merchant fees, right? If you compare this to what your merchants pay for PayPal and credit card processing, it can be up to 3 times in most cases, right? And it is affecting many merchants, especially in the low margin sector like electronics, that is eating in their profits, right? Then the second issue that we have seen with a lot of merchants is they face integration challenges with BNPL. Retailers on popular shopping platforms like Magento, they find it easy to integrate with most BNPL providers. However, there are customers who are on custom built solution or a less popular solution, they might struggle, right? Because they might have, that would mean that they actually have to develop their own integration, right? Then in addition, they have to integrate, they struggle with integrating into their daily processes, in their bookkeeping and things like that. So these are all things that merchants, in my opinion, find detrimental to be detrimental when using BNPL.
I've also seen, I know Thailand's terrible for it. Thai merchants, I've seen checkouts with 15, 20 different payment methods in the checkout, and it's
in Southeast,
I know
yeah.
in Southeast Asia, yeah. and I know it's relevant of that industry and that market where there are so many different options, but I just look at it and I'm completely overwhelmed, especially when I'm wanting something that's aesthetic and it's pleasing and it's simple. Think about the message you're sending to your customers. Should you be offering, setting out what the payment terms are for 4 different buy now pay later providers on the PDP? Are you taking real estate up doing that you could be using to actually give information and selling points about your product, or a good sizing chart?
Yeah, for a person like me, right? For a person like me, if there are 10 options and I can probably use four of them to pay, I'll probably spend 5 minutes thinking about which one should I go with and end up not going with going ahead with the order. Too many choices are too confusing for me.
Whereas I'm like, no, too hard, going somewhere else.
That's right.
It really does depend upon your demographic, what's relevant in your market, in your industry. But yeah, think about the space, think about what it's going to look like on your designs. And, while it's great to sign up to multiple ways of getting money, as you were saying, where am I going to get the best margin for my product? And who's got a buy now, pay later brand and product that is relevant and matches my brand, my product, and my demographic? And who's going to give me something back? Which of these merchants offering buy now, pay later are going to give me back access to customers I don't already have access to? Who's going to be doing co-marketing with me? What's in it for me? We, as I was saying before, it used to be just Afterpay or no way. We as merchants have options now. Merchants can shop around and find the right product that is relevant for their brand.
That's good. No, that's true.
Work as a partner, not a vendor.
Yes, definitely.
I love it. Now, moving into returns, specifically, how can merchants actually reduce returns? I know you touched on it a little bit, but it was mostly in the fashion industry. We can expand this out into other areas of retail. So I'm going to throw this over to all 3 of you again, because I'd love to hear everyone's opinions. How can merchants reduce returns? Abhishek, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I'll say put as much information as you can on the product detail page on your website. Show your return policy very clearly, right? Try that customer read through your return policy. Give a snippet, just a snippet that this item is not returnable, or things like that. And obviously give videos, 360-degree views, all those stuff. And rating and reviews, again, very important. Do those. We'll find some, you'll see that the returns will go down after doing all this, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think other things are.
So go ahead, Tanuj.
So the other things, I would like to add, and which is common across all industries, not just fashion, is you got to be open about your delivery time frames, right? Also, if you find that there are a particular range has a high number of returns, you got to look at it from the merchandising perspective and see if there is actually a fault, as Eroka had mentioned earlier, in the product. Is there a quality issue, right? If we go again into fashion, as I said earlier, that use models wearing the product and provide the size of the model and the product they are wearing, allow customers to provide feedback, use videos. If you think about how well a lot of these home shopping channels are using videos to sell, right? There is no reason why that concept cannot be brought onto your website and used with a lot of your products. Although it is expensive and it might not be possible for every merchant, but wherever it is, that I believe should be included.
Yeah, definitely. And use your returns information. Gather the right information and then use that information to drive the changes in your processes that will reduce the returns in the first place.
Brilliant. And now just for the final question, what is the most surprising piece of data that you've actually seen during this webinar? So again, I'm going to throw it over this time and start with Eroka.
I think I touched on it earlier when I said that, what was it, 60 or 70% on returns in fashion. That just blew me away. I was not expecting it to be anywhere near that high. I probably would have gone 30, 35. That shows that there are fashion retailers at one end who don't have control and are looking for a way to get help and are looking for some advice to be able to manage that. You know, they're just not managing it. It's just happening to them. They're not controlling the narrative in their own environment.
True, true.
And Tanuj, what was surprising for you?
For me, it was like, you know, the BNPL usage in the age group between 55 and 64, and it came at like, you know, almost 10%. I was aware that, you know, the usage has been increasing in the 45 to 54 age group, but this has really come to me as a surprise, and it actually shows how e-commerce is growing across all age groups in Australia.
Absolutely. Abhishek, what about you?
I'll say again, same BNPL in that age group. I'll rather add that 45 to 65 age group altogether. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely different to what it was, say, 2 years ago than what it is today. So it's great to keep an eye on, see the development. Well, we are actually running out of time, so I wanted to give everyone and all of our speakers a big thank you for the time they've taken out to actually join this webinar today. If we didn't get time to answer your questions, or if you have questions that you'd like to send to them individually, please feel free to reach out to them at the end of the webinar. And I wanted to thank Tanuj, Eroka and Abhishek for their time today. So everyone, stay safe, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thank
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.